Picture the scene. A brand new half-ton pickup rolls off the dealer lot with two turbochargers whistling under the hood, a 12-inch touchscreen glowing in the dash, and a suspension system that talks to a computer more often than the driver does. 45,000 miles later, a warning light blinks on, the truck limps into an independent shop, and the mechanic pops the hood, runs the scan tool, and delivers the bad news with a face that has seen this exact story 1,000 times before. A replacement turbocharger, new sensors, and labor will run past $8,000. Now picture something else entirely. A truck built back when a gallon of gas cost about $1 and change, sitting in a gravel driveway with 280,000 miles on the odometer, engine still ticking over as smooth and steady as the day it left the factory. No carbon-caked direct injectors, no 10-speed transmission hunting for the right gear, no black box waiting to throw a $500 diagnostic code at you. Just a cast iron block, a set of push rods, and a fuel injection system simple enough that a home mechanic with one toolbox and a Saturday afternoon can keep it running for another 250,000 miles. Ask any mechanic who has spent 30, 40, even 50 years elbow deep in engine bays which one of those two trucks they would actually spend their own hard-earned money on, and the shiny new one almost never wins. In fact, walk through the personal driveway of almost any veteran mechanic in this country, and you will find the exact same theme repeating itself, a truck that is old enough to vote, paid off years ago, and still doing real work every single week. Here is the uncomfortable truth the marketing department does not want you to hear. Modern trucks have gotten heavier, faster, and dramatically more complicated. Turbochargers, particulate filters, 8, 9, and 10-speed automatics, and computer modules stacked on top of computer modules have pushed towing numbers higher on the spec sheet, but they have also pushed the average repair bill into territory that can wreck a family budget. Meanwhile, an entire generation of trucks built in the final years of the last century and the opening years of this one used simple, overbuilt, brute force V8 engines designed from the ground up to survive fleet duty, farm duty, and job site abuse for decades without a second thought. That is exactly why the mechanics who spend all day fixing everyone else's broken cars quietly go home and climb into something 20, even 30 years old. Before we count down the 6 legendary V8 trucks that earned that kind of trust from the very people who know engines best, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button right now, because we are about to go engine by engine through the exact reasons these trucks refuse to die, and you do not want to miss what is waiting at number 1. The intensity only builds from here. Let's start the countdown. Number 6 on this list is the GMC Sierra 1500, built between 1999 and 2006, and powered by the 5.3-liter Vortec, an engine General Motors coded internally as the LM7. This engine belongs to General Motors' third-generation small block family, the same fundamental architecture that spawned the legendary LS1 used in the Corvette, and that shared bloodline is exactly why this humble truck engine has such a massive cult following today. Under the hood, the LM7 pairs a cast iron block built for outright strength with lightweight aluminum cylinder heads, a combination that keeps the bottom end nearly bulletproof while still shedding weight up top. Factory output landed between 270 and 295 horsepower depending on the exact model year, with somewhere between 315 and 335 pound-feet of torque, numbers that might sound modest by today's standards, but numbers this engine could deliver reliably for hundreds of thousands of miles without drama. Mechanics love this engine for one overwhelming reason above all else: parts availability. General Motors built millions of these trucks alongside the nearly identical Chevrolet Silverado, Suburban, Tahoe, and GMC Yukon, which means junkyards, parts counters, and online marketplaces are absolutely flooded with cheap, high-quality replacement components. Need a water pump, an alternator, a full set of coil packs? You can source one before lunch and have it installed before dinner. The LM7 also shares a huge percentage of its internals with the performance-focused LS engines, meaning the aftermarket support for this motor is arguably deeper than any other engine on this entire list. Entire businesses have been built around pulling these engines out of wrecked trucks and dropping them into everything from off-road buggies to classic muscle cars, which keeps the used engine supply constantly refreshed and the prices refreshingly low. It is not the most powerful truck we are talking about today, and it will never be the flashiest, but ask a mechanic what they would daily drive for the next 15 years without financial stress, and the humble Sierra 1500 and its 5.3 Vortec comes up again and again. Moving on to number 5, we head to Auburn Hills, Michigan, and a truck built by a company that has always believed the answer to almost every mechanical question was simply more cubic inches. Number 5 is the Dodge Ram 1500, specifically the 1998 through 2001 model years equipped with the 5.9-liter Magnum V8. This engine, based on the classic Chrysler LA small block architecture with roots stretching back to the 1960s, produced 245 horsepower and 335 pound-feet of torque in its most common factory tune, and every bit of that torque arrived low in the rev range, exactly where a truck needs it when it is dragging a loaded trailer up a mountain grade. The 5.9 Magnum is aggressively, almost stubbornly simple. 2 valves per cylinder, a single camshaft riding directly in the block, cast iron everywhere you look, and a design philosophy that prioritized brute low-end grunt over high-revving sophistication. Mechanics respect this engine because there is almost nothing on it that can fail in a way that leaves you stranded on the side of the highway. No timing belt to snap without warning, no variable valve timing solenoids to clog with sludge, just a chain-driven camshaft and enough iron in the block to survive genuine, prolonged neglect. The one asterisk mechanics will always mention in the same breath is the transmission. The 4-speed automatic paired with these trucks during this era, commonly known by its factory code 46RE, was not engineered with the same bulletproof mentality as the engine bolted in front of it, and it demands regular fluid and filter changes to survive alongside its engine for the long haul. Buy one of these trucks, stay on top of that transmission, and you've got a genuine workhorse capable of towing for 300,000 miles or more without ever seeing the inside of an engine shop. Moving on to number 4, we crossed the Pacific Ocean to a truck Americans slept on for years, built by a company better known at the time for reliable sedans than heavy-duty pickups. Number 4 on this list might genuinely surprise you. The first-generation Nissan Titan, built from 2004 through 2015, powered by the 5.6-liter V8 known internally as the VK56DE. Nissan built this engine at its own dedicated plant in Decherd, Tennessee, and gave it an all-aluminum architecture with dual overhead camshafts and 4 valves per cylinder. A genuinely modern design compared to the pushrod American engines surrounding it on this list. Output ranged from around 305 horsepower and 379 pound-feet of torque at launch, up to 317 horsepower and 385 pound-feet of torque in later production years, numbers that actually beat several domestic competitors when this truck first hit showrooms. Mechanics who know this engine well will tell you it might be one of the most underrated V8s ever bolted into a half-ton pickup. It revs smoothly, it delivers strong, usable torque, and the fundamental architecture, an aluminum block with iron cylinder liners for wear resistance, has proven itself capable of running past 250,000 miles with nothing more than routine maintenance. It is not a flawless record. Early production years are known for exhaust manifolds that can crack from repeated heat cycling and catalytic converters that can fail earlier than a mechanic would like to see, both well-documented issues that are relatively affordable to address compared to a full engine rebuild. But look past those two specific weak points, and you are looking at a genuinely durable, high-revving, torque-rich V8 that never got the credit it deserved simply because it wore a Nissan badge instead of an American one. Moving on to number 3, we head back across the ocean to Japan for a truck that mechanics across the country consider close to bulletproof. Number 3 is the first-generation Toyota Tundra, built from the year 2000 through 2006, powered by the 4.7-liter I-Force V8, an engine Toyota's own engineers designated the 2UZFE. This engine used a cast-iron block for maximum long-term durability, paired with dual overhead camshaft aluminum heads and 32 valves total, a genuinely overbuilt design that Toyota deliberately tuned conservatively so that nothing inside it would ever be pushed anywhere near its breaking point. Early trucks produced 245 horsepower and roughly 315 pound-feet of torque, and once Toyota added variable valve timing starting in 2005, output climbed into the 270 to 280 horsepower range. Mechanics across the country consider this engine close to indestructible, and the real-world numbers back that up. Verified examples of this exact engine have surpassed 1 million miles on the original bottom end, and finding one with 300,000 miles that still runs and drives like new is genuinely common rather than exceptional. There is exactly one piece of scheduled maintenance that determines whether this engine lives forever or leaves you stranded, and that is the timing belt, which Toyota recommends replacing every 90,000 miles alongside the water pump, tensioner, and idler pulleys. The good news for anyone nervous about that job, this is a non-interference engine, meaning that even in the rare case the belt does fail, the pistons will not collide with the valves and destroy the engine from the inside out. Stay on top of that one belt, change the oil on schedule, and you've got a truck that mechanics genuinely believe could outlive its own owner. It is exactly this kind of track record that keeps used examples of this truck stubbornly expensive, because everyone in the trade knows the rare unicorn combination of Japanese build tolerances and old-school American truck toughness when they see it. Moving on to number 2, we are back on American soil with an engine that traces its bloodline all the way back to 1955. Number 2 on this list is the Chevrolet CK-1500, specifically the final years of the platform General Motors called the GMT 400, in what enthusiasts now call its old body style form, built from 1996 through 1998, powered by the 5.7-liter Vortec, an engine General Motors coded the L31. This was the very last evolution of the original Chevrolet small block V8, the same fundamental architecture that debuted all the way back in 1955, refined across 4 decades into its most capable factory truck form ever produced. The L31 produced 255 horsepower at 4,600 RPM and 330 pound-feet of torque at just 2,800 RPM, numbers that translate directly into effortless low-speed pulling power exactly where a truck spends the vast majority of its working life. Mechanics who grew up wrenching on this engine will tell you it might be the single easiest V8 in the world to service. Every part interchanges across literally millions of Chevrolet and GMC trucks, vans, and SUVs built across 4 decades, The fuel injection system is straightforward sequential port injection rather than anything computer-heavy by modern standards, and the entire top end uses a mere 2 valves per cylinder actuated by simple pushrods, which means almost any home mechanic with a basic socket set can tackle a full valve job in a single afternoon. This is the engine that proved you never needed overhead camshafts, variable valve timing, or forced induction to build something capable of surviving decades of towing, farm work, and fleet abuse. 200, even 300,000 miles on the original engine is treated as barely broken in among owners who maintain them properly. And now, we have arrived at the truck mechanics consider the ultimate holy grail on this entire list, the one they would spend real money to own even today in 2026. Number 1, the undisputed holy grail, is the Ford F-250 Super Duty, built from 1999 through 2003, powered by the 7.3-liter Power-Stroke turbocharged diesel V8. This engine was not actually designed in-house by Ford. It was engineered and manufactured by International, the commercial truck and engine maker also known as Navistar, and it shares its bloodline with their commercial T444E engine used in medium-duty trucks and school buses. Depending on the exact model year and transmission, output ranged from 235 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque in the earliest examples, up to 275 horsepower and 525 pound-feet of torque in the final manual transmission trucks built between 2001 and 2003. That torque curve is the entire story right there. Diesel engines make their power low in the rev range, which is precisely what you want when you are dragging a loaded fifth-wheel trailer up a mountain grade, and this engine could tow up to 12,500 pounds conventionally and nearly 14,000 pounds with a fifth-wheel setup, numbers that were genuinely extraordinary for a consumer pickup truck at the turn of the millennium. Mechanics revere this specific engine because it predates almost all of the emissions hardware that complicates every diesel built after it. There is no exhaust gas recirculation cooler waiting to clog, no diesel particulate filter demanding a regeneration cycle, and no urea injection system to keep topped off and maintained. It uses a hydraulically actuated, electronically controlled fuel injection system known by the acronym HEUI, which sounds complicated on paper but has proven itself over millions of real-world miles to be remarkably durable when properly maintained. Ford and International built more than 2 million of these engines before the 7.3 was finally retired in 2003, replaced by the more emissions-focused 6-liter Power-Stroke, an engine with a considerably rockier reputation among the very same mechanics who swear by its predecessor. Because of that reputation, clean examples of the 7.3 Power-Stroke have only grown more valuable with time, and even now in 2026, a well-maintained truck carrying this engine commands a serious premium on the used market, often selling for more than trucks a full decade newer. This is the engine mechanics openly call one of the best diesels ever built, full stop, and it earns the top spot on this list because when a mechanic who has fixed thousands of other people's trucks is asked what they would put their own family and their own money behind for a lifetime of towing, this is very often the answer they give without a single second of hesitation. So there you have it, 6 legendary V8 trucks, and 1 diesel among them, that mechanics with decades of experience under their belt trust more than almost anything rolling off a modern assembly line today. Simple engineering, proven parts, and the kind of overbuilt reliability that turns a truck into a lifelong tool instead of a monthly repair bill. None of these trucks needed a supercomputer to survive 50 below zero winters, 110-degree summers, and decades of towing, and that is exactly the point. Now I want to hear from you. Which one of these 6 would you actually buy today, and did we leave off a legend that deserved a spot on this countdown? Drop it in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.